Welcome to the very first episode of the Girls Bathroom Podcast. I'm Shana B, and if you've been following my blog series, you know this space is all about honesty, transparency, and vulnerability. You know, keeping it real with ourselves first and everyone else immediately after. Exploring sisterhood, growth, and the lessons we learn along the way. This podcast is an extension of the journey where we can have a more deeper, unfiltered conversation, you know, just like we do in a girl's bathroom. So thank you for listening. Gather up and let's talk about it. For the very first question, for the very first episode. Okay, maybe I should do like an introduction, right? What am I thinking? If you don't know, I'm Shana B, and let's just say I do the Lord's work. Just joking, just a smidge. But no, seriously, I just like to share my thoughts. I share my thoughts. I share my lessons. I've always done that. I've always used social media that way. And over time, I've built a following, I've built support, I've built a community. I love you guys. Like, the confidence I get just from knowing that I can start and start again and start again and start again. And you guys will support me even if I sell socks. So that's love. And now we're here. We're at a podcast. This has been a long time coming, but right on time. I am so appreciative of everyone that's tuned in and listening right now, at home, at work, on your way home, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in and listening. And you know, now it's all about execution for me. It's all about following through. It's all about doing all the things I set out was going to do that I know I can do. And this is one of those things. The podcast and the Girls Bathroom series is a 10-part written series. We are halfway through. Right now, we're going to do a little intermission because we unpacked a lot. I unpacked a lot. And if you've been following, I'm sure you had some things to unpack as well. So now that you guys know just a little bit more about me, let's get into the very first question for our very first episode. Today's question is, when or why did you begin to decenter man? How can we as girl groups bond over things that literally have nothing to do with the male species? So, a few things. Let's pull out the paper, right? I have to lay it out there. And this is a disclaimer that I'm going to say now. I love men. I love black men, especially. I do not hate men. I do not believe in all men, just like I don't believe in all women. If you read part 1 of the Girls Bathroom series. Ironically, I had a coworker ask me this question today at work. And I love that you guys care about my input about that. I think that says a lot nowadays in this climate where it's so many creatives and coaches and things of sorts telling the girls what to do and how to do it. And me personally, I cannot get with that. I do not believe that's how we should navigate and approach life as women. However, I do believe insight is useful, and that's all I intend to do, is to provide insight. I am not a coach. I am not a licensed professional. I am not a guru. I am Shana B, and honey, I live life. I feel things. I own the things I feel. I give them names. I dead them or I water them. It's all a part of life. So to be honest, I cannot say when. I cannot think of a time, like a time stamp, like, oh, it was at this point in my life. You know what? I'm lying. I guess that was decentering man before I even, before this became a thing, right? We get like 5 new words every year or so. I would say 2017. 2017 rocked my world. I began to approach my womanhood. And I knew that like toxic friends was not it for me. And I knew toxic men was not it for me. And I really want to refer to them as boys, past tense. They were boys. I was not dealing with men in 2017. And child, if I was, I had no business. That's another conversation for another day. But I got to a point, this was my first time in my first apartment, and I just didn't like the experiences I was having with guys at that time. Like, I knew how I was approaching things was not beneficial to me. I knew it was not healthy. And I knew if I never wanted to feel like that again, I had to change how I looked at men and my attachment to men. Mind you, I was the young girl that grew up like, loving the boys, like I love a handsome guy to this day. So growing up, I was no stranger to my feelings of, when you're young and it's surface level and it's kind of innocent. And then I got older and got my world rocked like, you motherfuckers ain't okay. Y'all are not really okay. Like, I don't like this. I do not like this treatment. I do not enjoy this treatment. I don't believe I should be treated this way. So I knew never to put my all into securing a man. I knew how I felt about myself cannot be centered around a man, because if I put man at the center of my life and I went off the things guys would do and say, no, that didn't have anything to do with me. And I had to decide that early if I wanted to have high self-esteem. So it kind of just happened naturally. And again, honesty. I was very honest with myself about my capacity, what I could handle and what I couldn't handle. I just wanted to have fun. If I didn't, I knew that it was something more, or I wanted it to be something more. I knew, I knew my place. And I'm not saying it in that way. I knew my capacity. I never wanted to give or take on too much that I couldn't handle in the long run. Fast forward to me approaching 30. I understand my why of why I cannot center man and make man the all and be all of my life. I pay attention to, I learn from my family's history, which is why I'm not big on consuming internet advice and coaching. Everything you need to know to avoid or pursue is in your family history. Whether you learn it in spite of them or because of them. Look to your family history. Look at the relationships the women in your family have or had with men and what those outcomes are and what that looks like. And ask yourself, is that something you want for yourself? And I love my family down. I love the women in my family down. I have so much grace and compassion and respect for the women in my family because I come from a line of women where it was not men in our family that aided as protectors. Like, we didn't have that. Not because like they were terrible or nobody wanted it. Is my great grandmother had all girls. Most of her daughters had all girls. Like, it's not that many men in my family. And I think that also resulted in the actions and lifestyle of the women in my family when it came to like choosing a man. And even then I don't know, it's so tricky. It's so tricky. Let's just say I've seen and learned enough where I cannot depend on a man to bring me happiness or to bring me the things I desire and require and deserve from life. I understand that is 100% my responsibility, which is why I'm cool on dating, I'm cool on relationships, because I know what I want, honey. And I know that I am not there. I am not that woman that's with that type of man I envision. I can probably meet him now while we're both on a grind, but I'd rather just focus on the grind and try to mesh that because it gets messy. It gets messy. So I'd rather just lock in. But that's why I chose to decenter man. Thank God for me. I'm in childcare. I have a childcare career. So that's where I get to really indulge in and utilize, harness, whatever you want to call it, my femininity. I get to be nurturing with children who deserve it, who looks for that, who needs that. And I love it. I love that childcare consumes my femininity. So I don't feel rushed or pressured by society to have a man to start a family to be feminine. Like, there's other ways that you can be feminine without attaching yourself to a man and having children. Okay, we talked about the when, we talked about the why. So let's get into the how. How can we bond as women without making men the center of what and how and when we bond? First off, another disclaimer. I want to say that it's avoidable. However, it doesn't hurt. I wouldn't say to bond over, but like men, our relationship, our lessons and experiences with men is going to come up in our friendships. You cannot avoid that unless you guys are lesbians. But if you and your friends are heterosexual. I'm not editing that out. I'm gonna keep that in there to let y'all know I be tongue twisted. Sometimes words be whooping my ass, and this is going so good. We're just gonna keep that in there. So right, you and your friends are straight, man is gonna come up. And me and a few of my homegirls, we use man as like, we talk about it from a analytical research type way of how we dissect life and lessons and certain things society teach us, and we compare those notes with what we're experiencing in real time. And it's great, honestly. We come to really great realizations and have really great conversations not necessarily center around man, and that's the way how we bond. Like, no, we bond over being sexy. We don't bond about that, but it is good to use them as a catalyst to talk about your growth in life, in society, and patriarchy, and all of these things. So there is other ways that we can bond outside of that conversation. So it's easier to bond with your friends, and it's not all about men. It is based off who you guys are as individuals. For instance, when you take the time to know yourself, explore who you are, and you're not afraid to do that, you share those curiosities, those hobbies, the things you discover, your interests. You share that with your friends. Don't be scared to share the things, your own individual quirky interest and niche things that you like with your friends. Like, don't have the expectation of you and your friends should be interested in the same thing. Like, you and your friends do not have to be interested in the same thing, because that's boring. What y'all go bond over? Being alike all day? And that's something that we often did in girlhood, where our relationships were more surface level. And I talked about that in the Girls Bathroom series, part 5, Live, Love, Life. I talked about the transition from girlhood to womanhood, and how we meet with sisterhood right in the middle with some of those things. So as a young girl, you and your friends, like, you have all of the same things in common. It's very surface level. It's not that deep. It's fun. We're innocent. But when you become a woman, you become more intentional. You become more selective. So you understand and accept that you and your friend is not going to have all of the same interests and hobbies and things that make you go, ooh, girl, look at this. And when you're friends with other women and you know who you are, it's easier for you to respect, honor, and understand your girls. Like, I don't know, it's make friendships fun, and you can find yourself learning new things. You can find yourself learning new things about yourself, about your friend, and it just continues to build that gap of bonding. I learned a lot from my friends. Like, my friends, we share, so that's the thing, like I mentioned in part 5, you and your homegirls should share similar core values, but you do not have to share the same interests and hobbies. As long as you and your girls share the same core values, there's so much to life to bond over. Okay, so we talked about the when, the why, and the how. Now I'm going to share some tips, not that many, of what I think can help you explore other ways or start that gateway to bond with your homegirls over other things instead of men. So, one of my favorite ideas I recommend everybody do, you can do it with the women in your family, like your cousins. You can do it with your homegirls. Host individual field trips. Again, like I said, you and your friends are not going to have the same interests and hobbies. However, you can bond over you guys' individual interests and hobbies. So, for instance, let's use an example. You have a homegirl that's really into art, a niche type art, let's make it different. She's into like historic, I don't know, child. She into art. And you guys aren't that into art the way that your friend is into art. But, you want to bond with your girl. You don't want to become prisoners of individualism. You guys can all go to the museum one day. Even if it's not your thing, you can join your home girl at the museum. Y'all can have a friend that's into live wrestling. You guys can all go to a live wrestling show, and you guys can kind of take turns doing this. That way you can avoid just only, going out for nightlife type things. Because I feel like if you and your friends, the only time you go out is during nightlife, it's going to be pretty hard to bond and build that relationship that isn't centered around men. Because come on now, like I said, I don't hate men, I love the man. And nightlife, that's a factor of nightlife at times. Unless you like me and you love to go out and dance. Like that's my thing. And again, you have to not be male centered as well to like really enjoy nightlife with your friends. And every woman is not capable of enjoying nightlife and not making it about men. Like for me, nightlife, my friends join me, and I'm okay even when my friends don't join me. I like to just go out and look good and dance. So I go to a lot of house music type of things. That's a way my homegirls can bond with me. They know I love house music. They can come out and join me and dance. So, yes. So the question again, just in case we lost the plot here, because that was just a lot. The question was, when/why did I begin to decenter men, and how can we as girl groups bond over things that literally have nothing to do with the species? So like I told you guys, it's not 100% avoidable. It's okay to use men as a catalyst to dissect society and life and your experiences and the things you learn about yourself through experiencing man. I think it's kind of, I don't want to say bizarre, because it's fair, especially as you age and with experience, right? Which is kind of my point. But if you and your friends are still young, learning, growing, figuring things out, it's okay to talk about men. But are we sitting and talking about shitty men all day and having an attachment and love and interest in pursuing relationships with shitty men? Absolutely not. That's not what we're doing. But we can talk about some failed experiences and things of that nature, and what it's teaching us, what we think is teaching us, what it taught us. I think that's a way to shift the perspective that's still also decentering man, because I feel like this whole decentering man thing is misguided and it's going a little off the rails with this illusion that we can live in this world with men and women where we essentially need each other, and just think you can just exile men from your life. Unless, I think that's pretty avoidable, unless you have the resources to live on a compound and it's just you and women. Then you can really take it home with exiling man from your life. So shift your perspective. You don't want to approach the whole decentering man thing from a place of hurt, from a place of bitterness. Because I don't believe you will learn anything if you choose to approach it that way. You want to keep yourself open to knowledge. You want to keep yourself open to experiences. Again, I talked about this in part 5 of the Girls Bathroom series, the written portion. Live, love, life. Things happen. Things happen. We get our feelings hurt. Shit happens. And to think that we can just go on and man will never come up and you and your homegirls can just exist in a field and a land of cakes, pies, and rainbows, and man is never a topic of conversation. That's not realistic, babe. And again, I am not a fan of all men, just like I'm not a fan of all women. So, because again, what we talk about in this series and what this thing is all about is about honesty. And we know the ways of women. It's not all good the way we like to pretend that it is in sisterhood. Sisterhood can get ugly. Sisterhood can get, I wouldn't say sisterhood. I would just say being in an environment of women can be that way. Sisterhood, you have more control and a better opportunity to cultivate healthier relationships and interactions with women when you value sisterhood. Because you don't have the all women think all women mentality. And it pays to apply that with men as well. You just don't want to walk through life all with this all man mentality, because we joke about men that do that, how men get their heart broke in 3rd grade and they never love again. That's not us. That's not women. You cannot lock your heart up and put it in a cage and throw it away or put it in the freezer because you had maybe one too many failed experiences with men. You have to keep doing it, sis. You have to keep putting yourself out there. And again, you have to learn. You have to learn. You have to have those hard conversations with yourself, with your friend. You got to be honest with your friend. Girl, it doesn't sound like he's as interested as you. It doesn't sound like he likes you at times. What is it? Child, my friends then said some things to me that has completely grabbed me by my edges, and I was forced to sit with myself and continue that inner dialogue of the why. So it's okay to talk about man. It's okay to like man. It's okay despite what you guys are saying online, despite your experiences. Now, if you find yourself just constantly having bad experience after bad experience, or you just find yourself unfulfilled, that just means you have more digging to do. You have some exploring to do, sis. And you have to have that conversation with yourself. Because it's an explanation for everything, just as well as there's a solution for everything. And you have to be willing to maybe accept the role you play in things. Maybe you are not using your best judgment. Maybe you're not leading with your heart. Maybe you are taking yourself and man and things too seriously. Maybe you're not taking it serious enough. But that's only for you to explore and find out. And that's what I encourage. Because again, remember, I am not a life coach. I am not a guru. I am not a licensed professional. I am just somebody who's brave enough to continue to live life despite everything and share it with you guys in hopes that I spark something in you, I leave something with you, I steer you in another direction. That's all I intend to do. And I hope that I did that. I hope that I answered your question. Thank you for submitting the first question. How poetic. I had to make it the first episode. I felt like it was only right. So, if you tuned in with me today for the first episode of the Girls Podcast, ask me a question. Let's keep this going. Ask me another question. You can find the question submission link in any of my bios. It's in my link tree. It would say question submission. Ask me something. Ask me something. Let's keep this going. And if you haven't already, check out the written portion of this series on Substack. So far, we have 5 in. So if you want to be in tune, you want to be in the bathroom, you want to know what the girls are talking about, you can check out the written portion of this series on my Substack, starting with The Power of Sisterhood, which is the introduction. We have part 1, All Women Think All Women. Part 2, Bitches, Betrayal, Bitterness. Part 3, Grieving Old Narratives. Part 4, Rebuilding with Responsibility. And part 5, Live, Love, Life. Clinging to your core, living fully and authentically. So check that out. Like, what are you waiting on? Like, this is the invitation if you was waiting on the invitation. Check out the written portion of the series. Stay tuned for the second episode of the podcast. And don't forget to submit a question. This was fun. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be with y'all next time for the second episode of the Girls Bathroom Podcast.